12. Rectifying mistakes in the prayer. In case a person makes a mistake or thinks that he has made a mistake in the utterances and practices of the prayer, the amendment prescribed as a sunnah is that if amends can be made for the mistake, then they should be made, and 2 prostrations called prostrations in lieu of a mistake should be offered before ending the prayer. And if making amends is not possible, then only the prostrations should be offered. Following are the details of the incidents which occurred during the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, in which such prostrations were offered. Ibn Buhayna says that once the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ led our Zuhr prayers but did not sit down after the first 2 rakat and stood up for the 3rd rakat. People also stood up with him until the time when the prayer was about to end and the people were waiting for the salam to be said. The Prophet uttered a takbir and before saying the salam offered 2 prostrations and then said the salam. Al-Bukhari, Al-Jami' al-Sahih, page 195, hadith numbers 1224 and 1225. It is narrated by Ibn Masud radhiyallahu anhu that once when the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ led the Zuhr congregational prayer, he offered 5 rakat. He was asked, "Has the prayer been lengthened?" He replied, "What happened?" The people declared that he had prayed 5 rakat. At this, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ turned his feet while sitting and faced the Qibla and then offered 2 prostrations and then said the salam. Then he turned towards the people and said, "If some new directive had been revealed about the prayer, I would have told you. The fact is that I am a human being like you. I also forget the way you do. So when I forget, remind me and remember that if any of you has any doubt in the prayer, he should ascertain what is the right course and then complete his prayer according to it, say the salam, and then offer 2 prostrations." Al-Bukhari, Al-Jami' al-Sahih, pages 70 and 71, hadith numbers 401 and 404. Abu Huraira radhiyallahu anhu narrates that once the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ prayed 2 rakat for the Zohar or the Asr prayer and then said the salam. There was a wood lying in the front portion of the mosque. He went and rested against it in a state of slight anger. Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu and Umar radhiyallahu anhu too were present, but they were not able to speak because of great respect for him. In the meantime, some impetuous people came out from the mosque and started saying that the prayer has been reduced. At this, a person called Dhul Yadain mustered some courage and went over to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and asked him, "Did you forget, or has the prayer been shortened?" The Prophet replied, "I have neither forgotten nor has the prayer been shortened." "Something has happened, O Messenger of God," he continued. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ asked for corroboration from the people. They also declared similarly. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ prayed 2 more rakat and then turned to say the salam and then said the takbir, then offered a prostration, consuming his routine time for it, or increased the time a little, then raised his head and said the takbir, then said the takbir and then offered a prostration, consuming his routine time for it, or increased the time a little. He then raised his head and said the takbir. Al-Bukhari, Al-Jami' al-Sahih, page 196, hadith number 1229. Imran ibn Hussein says that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ prayed the Asr prayer and after 3 rakat turned to say the salam and then went over to his room. A person called Khirbaq, who had very long hands, told him of this. He came out in anger, dragging his cloak behind him, and asked the people, "Is he telling the truth?" When they confirmed it, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ prayed 1 more rakat and then turned to say the salam. He then offered 2 prostrations and then again turned to say the salam. Muslim, Al-Jami' al-Sahih, page 233, hadith number 1293. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is reported to have said, "When anyone among you is doubtful that whether he has prayed 3 rakat or 4, he should try to base his decision about which he is more sure and leave aside what is doubtful. He should then offer 2 prostrations before the salam. If ultimately he has prayed 5 rakat, these prostrations will make them into an even number, and if he has prayed 4, then these prostrations will become a source of humiliation for Satan." Muslim, Al-Jami al-Sahih, page 230, hadith number 1272. If a prayer leader makes a mistake and does not realize it, the followers should correct him. For this, the sunnah prescribed is that they shall say Subhanallah. If women do not prefer to raise their voice for correction, they should correct him by striking one hand on the other. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ similarly said, "If there is some mistake in the recital of the Quran, the listeners should sound a reminder." Abu Dawud, Sunan, Volume 1, pages 236 and 237, hadith number 907. 13. Etiquette of the prayer. The prayer is worshipping God and earnestly presenting one's supplications before Him. So where the Quran directed Muslims to safeguard the prayer, it has said, وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ, or, and stand before the Almighty with great respect. Surah number 2, verse 238. Following are the directives of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that explain this verse of the Quran. 1. Conversation should be avoided during the prayer. He said, "The prayer is only glorifying the Almighty and declaring His sovereignty and reciting the Quran, and no one is allowed to converse in any way during it." Zayd ibn Arqam says, "Previously we used to converse with one another during the prayer, but after the revelation of وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ, we were stopped from it and we were told to pray in silence." Ibn Masud radhiyallahu anhu narrates, "When we used to say the salam to the Prophet in the prayer, he would reply. However, when he returned from the land of King Negus, he did not reply to our salam. We inquired, 'O Prophet of God, you used to respond to the salam.' He replied, 'One can only have a single involvement in the prayer.'" 2. One should not look here and there in the prayer. Aisha radhiyallahu anha, the mother of the believers, says, "When I asked the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ about it, he replied, 'This is like Satan snatching the prayer away from a person.'" Similarly, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ severely admonished people for looking towards the sky. He is reported to have said, "What is the matter with people that they raise their eyes during their prayer towards the sky? They should refrain from this. Otherwise, there is a possibility that their eyes will be snatched away." 3. The prayer should be offered with complete calmness and serenity. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is reported to have said, "What is it that I see you raising your hands the way the tails of unruly horses are raised? Remain calm during the prayer." 4. During the prayer, hair and clothes should not be tampered with. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is reported to have said, "I have been directed to prostrate myself on 7 limbs and not to tuck my clothes and hair during the prayer." 5. There should not be anything in front of the prayer place which can become a source of distraction. Anas radhiyallahu anhu narrates that Aisha radhiyallahu anha had hung a curtain in the house. When the Prophet saw it, he asked her, "Remove it, because the pictures imprinted on it will keep coming before me during the prayer." 6. If food is at hand, then one should eat it and then calmly offer the prayer, so that one is not thinking of food during the prayer and is in fact thinking of prayer during food. The same directive was given by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ if a person feels the call of nature. He is reported to have said, "If food is in front of you or one feels like urinating or defecating, one should not offer the prayer. 7. If a person is compelled to do something during the prayer, then he should not prolong it. It has been narrated that a person was leveling the mud at the place of prostration. When the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ saw him, he said, "If you had to do it, you should have done it once only." 8. While standing in prayer, a person should not place his hands on his hips, and while sitting, he should not take support. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has stopped us from this. 9. Yawning should be refrained from during the prayer. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is reported to have said, "If any one of you feels like yawning during the prayer, he should try to control it as far as possible. Otherwise, he should place a hand on his mouth." 10. A person should be decently and appropriately dressed while praying. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is reported to have said that if there is only one cloth, it should not be worn in a manner that some of its portion is not on the shoulder. He has similarly said that God does not accept the prayer of mature women who do not wear a cloak during the prayer. The above-mentioned etiquette relates to the external form of the prayer. There are some inner etiquette too under وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ, which every Muslim should observe.